banner.
No, see both. Both, actually.
I gotta see two of them.
Yeah. No, I was upstairs, I was
see what
downstairs,
happens.
and I'm
Plan B.
upstairs.
If there is one.
Yeah, actually.
State law requires this body to announce at this time that a copy of the current Open Meetings Act is available at the back of the room where it is accessible to the public. Sisson.
Here.
McDermott.
Here.
Gibbon.
Here.
Burbon.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Aldridge.
Here. Thank you. If we could all rise, please, for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 1, approve the consent agenda. Approve the agenda, pay the claims, approve the city's treasurer's report, and item D, E, and F, we're approving a special designated liquor license for Catholic charity fundraising. And E is for a wedding reception, F is for a beer dinner, and I'd like to take G off, and we'll approve that next. Motion to approve the
So moved.
Aldrich, second. Burbon.
Sisson.
Yes.
McDermott.
Yes.
Gibbon.
Yes.
Burbon.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Aldridge.
Yes.
Motion carried. The reason we needed to take item G off is Lost Way Brewery is also a special designated liquor license, but the other thing is they're blocking off 3rd Avenue, and during that silver, or their Find Your Way 5K run event, they're gonna be blocking off from the alley in front of the street from 8 a.m. till 11 a.m. So we'd like permission from the city council to approve the SDL and
I have maps if you want.
come on forward.
All right.
Your name?
Mark Kraus with Lost Way Brewery. Good evening. Council members, mayor.
Thank you, Mark, for
Just pass
coming.
them around. Kind of broken up into two. So with the Find Your Way 5K, I know Jessica's been here a couple times talking to you about it. We're excited about the event. It's happening on May 18th. As you get your maps here, you'll see we're going to be blocking off the area directly in front of the brewery for the post-race party, basically. It'll be blocked off with cattle fencing. We're going to have volunteers there, as well as Lost Way staff checking IDs, wristbanding from the ID perspective, so that no one under the age of 21 can drink. And then the race course itself, Jessica wanted to make sure I pointed this out. We're going to have volunteers, including Black Hill Energies, with their trucks with flashing lights and everything. So all of the blue X's on the map of the race route will have Black Hills Energy there in those corners, making sure people are aware if they're driving into town at the time of meeting. Any other X's will just have volunteers there to direct traffic for the race. Besides that, that's really all we have. Do you have any questions, council?
And blocking off the street is going to be right in front of your
Yeah, right in front of the brewery. Just
for
from
3
us
hours.
across the Wagner.
Chief, any?
Yeah, hold on, I'm just taking a look at it.
And the only thing that might change is the start, where we have it coming down from the west side of 3rd Avenue. We might bring that up towards 4th Avenue Coffee and start from their parking lot. We need to talk to them about that, if they'd be okay with it or not.
That would just be for the start
Yeah, just for the start.
step,
So like a
just
30
temporary.
30-minute window probably. The only actual part that would be blocked off for any part longer than the race itself is right in front of our building. So you just would not be able to traverse from Grant to West Avenue during those hours on Third.
Yeah, I guess just Southeast Avenue, we have to make sure that people are safer runners are staying to one side. We don't want anyone. Get
Maybe.
there, obviously through Lake Seldom, that's no problem.
It'd be interesting if they went through Lake Seldom this time of year.
This year.
That'd be a nice challenge.
Hopefully they stay on the path. We're not trying to make this up
Get
here.
our foot into it. You okay, chief?
I don't know, do they need any other help from the city?
Kim?
or-
Well, you said you wanted to block it off, the streets.
Yeah.
I think we need to do that to the standpoint of make sure the proper signage and stuff is put on them. You can still have your cattle pens and whatnot, but I think we need to come out and put up our street closed ahead signs and
Yeah.
the proper barricading with the proper
Okay.
line and whatnot on it too, though.
We can coordinate that with you.
No other questions? Need a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Gibbons and Sisson.
Burbine,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Gibbons.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Okay. Item 2, approve the minutes of the April 2nd, 2019 regular council meeting. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Aldrich,
Second.
second by Johnson.
Sisson,
Abstain.
McDermott,
Yes.
Gibbons.
Abstain.
Burbine,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Didn't pass.
There was 4.
Huh?
There was 4. There was 4.
Well, I only counted 3, I didn't hear that.
There was 4.
Okay. All right, sorry.
Motion carried. Item 3, public forum. If somebody wants to bring something before the council that is not on the agenda tonight, now is the time. Just approach council.
Lori Ferguson with South Central Economic Development District. Dane and I talked last week and he thought that this would be an appropriate time to share with you. Ron Tillery and I came and met with the council in February to talk to you about 2 potential grant projects for the Hotel Dale. And I just wanted to update you on the status of those. We did submit a demonstration grant and innovation grant application to the Department of Economic Development back in February on behalf of the city. We were notified in March that the application was one of 8 that was selected as a finalist for funding potentially. They received 33 applications and chose 8. Last Tuesday, Bob, Ron, myself, Sharon from our office, as well as one of the owners from the Hotel Dale, did a 30-minute presentation to the Department of Economic Development. There was a 5-committee member. Following the 30-minute presentation, we had a 30-minute Q&A with the committee, and they will award up to 4 projects. So making the top 8 was kind of special, and we appreciated the opportunity and the experience. Ron, feel free to add, Bob, anything you'd like to share, but we will not know till late April, early May if the project is awarded for the demonstration monies. The second half of what we talked to you about back in February was the 2019 Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund money the DED has available. Our intent was to apply for that on behalf of the city for the Hotel Dale project as well. Because of the process we went through with the demonstration grant and the costs that we came to know about to renovate the Hotel Dale in an appropriate manner to attract clientele, it was decided by SCED not to pursue that formal application. And we will be letting the department know that a little bit later. on. Those applications are due later this month, but we've communicated that with Off Lowell, the owners of Hotel Dale, and so we're just in a holding pattern waiting to see if the demonstration grant is awarded to the community. So, Bob, Ron, did I miss anything?
I'd just say, add to that, Delano now has a fan club that extends to Lincoln. He was a part of the presentation and a video vignette that we prepared.
I heard that was an awesome presentation of some of the clients over throughout the years, and like you said, everybody down there now knows Delano.
Yes, one of the DED people came Monday afternoon prior to the presentation on Tuesday, and we gave her a tour. She is our program representative for this region, and so she met Delano. She got there before I did, so they were conversing. I'm not sure how long she had been there, but she was great, very enthusiastic about the proposed project. Loved meeting him, and he had a lot to share with her, of course. But so we will keep you updated and see what happens. We have given Off Lowell members some additional information about the brewery lofts in Hastings, which was just a really neat project that took an old abandoned building and converted it into 35 lofts. It was an equity stack of different funding sources. So that is a possibility that may be right down their alley to renovate it as they wish, and we will be glad to assist them should they make that decision. So that's all I have to say, unless you have any questions for me.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 4, open public hearing to receive comment on application to rezone all of lots 1 and 3, Block 1, Iron Horse addition to the city of Holdridge, Phelps County, Nebraska, from A, agricultural to I, industrial. I think that now includes all of the Iron Horse.
Right. Currently, I don't know if you guys got copies of the plat. I don't know if you do in your packet. Well, currently, one of those lots was already commercial. And with doing everything else, with the platting of everything, we have to change from agricultural to commercial. So our application is for all of Lot 1 and all of Lot 3 of Iron Horse addition. Part of Lot 1 is already zoned commercial. It's a small triangle in the bottom corner. And just to keep things clear and concise, so there is no question, we just included the whole thing. So it's done. Once you approve it, that way it's over and clean. I've had multiple conversations with Rod and Kim on this, and this is what we kind of come up with as the best way to do it, just so it's clean and neat. So it's just one of the many steps that we're doing on that Iron Horse to make it more valuable to a prospective client.
Any questions? Rod?
Whatever happened to the covenants out there, did you ever get them recorded, the change to those covenants?
Yes, all that's recorded. We got an agreement set up with Kristen Holmes, which that was the first thing. And then we talked with Kent Person, he signed off on it.
Okay.
So all that is filed in there, so everything is good to go.
Have you got a copy in your file?
I do, but I don't have it with me.
Yeah, but I mean, can you ship me over one?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Dane? Ordinance 2425?
Close the public hearing.
Oh, public hearing.
And then we need to approve the application.
Item 5, approve application to rezone all of lots 1 and 3, Block 1, Iron Horse addition to the city of Holdridge, Phelps County, Nebraska, from A, agriculture to I, industrial.
I move we approve the application for rezoning.
I'll second.
McDermott and Sisson, seconds.
Gibbons.
Yes.
Burbine.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Sisson.
Yes.
McDermott.
Yes.
Okay, now, ordinance 2425, first reading. An ordinance to change the zoning of described land and amend the zoning map to reflect such change. to repeal all other ordinances or portions of the zoning map in conflict herewith, to provide for the severability of all parts hereof, and to designate the time described when this ordinance shall be in effect, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the city of Holdridge, Nebraska.
Motion to approve first reading.
I'll make a motion, we approve first reading.
Mike Sisson.
I'll second.
Troy Brown seconds.
McDermott,
Yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Burbine,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Aldridge,
Yes.
Sisson.
Yes.
We do have 6 here tonight. We will take move on if you want to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Aldrich, second, or do we need to?
Second.
Second by Gibbons.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Burbine,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Aldridge.
Yes.
Final reading, ordinance 2425. An ordinance to change the zoning of the described land and amend the zoning map to reflect such change. To repeal all other ordinances or portions of the zoning map in conflict herewith, to provide for the severability of all parts hereof, and to designate the time described when this ordinance shall be in effect. Be it ordained by the mayor and council of the city of Holdridge, Nebraska.
Motion to approve final reading.
I'll make a motion, to approve the final reading. I'll second.
Mike Sisson, Troy Brown.
McDermott,
Yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Burbine,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Aldridge,
Yes.
Sisson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 8, consider resolution 2019-05 approving the redevelopment plan Holdridge workforce housing.
Yeah.
Whoop, I missed one.
7.
We can get that next meeting.
What did I
We
miss?
gotta have the open hearing.
7,
Number 7.
7.
Public hearing, redevelopment plan.
We just did that, open public
No.
hearing to, oh, there we go. Excuse me. Open public hearing to receive comment on the redevelopment plan, Holdridge workforce housing, March 2019. The redevelopment plan for the area to wit all of Block 1, Becker's addition to the city of Holdridge, Phelps County, Nebraska. There we go. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, my name is Mike Bacon. I'm an attorney from Gothenburg, Nebraska. My primary practice is tax increment financing. I've done somewhere between 250 and 300 projects across the state in 80 communities. Represent Messner Development Company on the proposed redevelopment plan in front of you. We do have one change that we would like to submit today on that proposal, and you wanna explain to them what we're doing? We'll pass out some proposed changes. I don't know which, I think this is the right way for this is East Avenue. This is Street. Pardon?
East Street.
East Street, okay, East Street. We've changed the green portion that would be paved, so it would, we have paving coming in on 2 different locations. These lots along this portion of the paved street would be the tax credit project. That would be available for rent for very low income folks. And the funding comes from the sale of tax credits and sold to institutional investors and a loan. In order to make those projects work, we have to neutralize the cost of the land and the infrastructure. The tax increment financing would help do that. They are not taxed at the normal levels. They're taxed at about 35% of the investment. That would free up additional lots for development in the community. These two here and these three along here. And so this would substitute for the map that's in the packet. Essentially, that would take about $810,000 worth of tax increment money coming in. That would be provided by a fund that Mr. Tillery and related groups control. A tax increment finance bond would be offered to that group. They would buy it and hold it at 0% interest. As the houses came online, they would be refunded those dollars. And so there's no obligation on behalf of the city, no liability for the repayment of that bond. The problem with this new layout, everybody wanted new streets and so forth and paving, is it won't return the $815,000 or $819,000 to the investment group. It will likely be significantly shorter than $600,000. That's because we won't be, these lots are going to be fairly worthless in terms of being able to sell and build houses on. So Messner Development Company, and this is Cliff Messner, who's done at least 2 projects in your town, would undertake the tax credit project and some private townhome development. Probably take a considerable period of time to get these lots filled out with housing. The redevelopment plan conforms to your comprehensive plan. It's properly zoned for the multifamily project. It should not put a significant burden on your school system, police force, and so forth. All of the infrastructure in the green area would be paid for from the TIF dollars, as well as the purchase of the land. Unfortunately, the TIF dollars won't reimburse Messner Development Company for all of their costs in buying the land. They'll still have at least $35,000 that they're holding of dirt that is not going to be currently available. This portion of the development does not have any infrastructure in it, and no infrastructure is planned at this time. That could come in at a later date if there was demand for it and there was funding to do tax increment financing. But right now, you would have 20 duplexes here, and we can get 10 townhomes on these lots here. So those would be duplexes that would be sold individually. In total investment would be well over $6 million in your community. The assessed valuation would not be that high because the tax credit projects, because they will be assessed on their very low income, would be assessed at best at 35% of normal value. Let's see. This has been presented and had a public hearing in front of Planning and Zoning, and it's been in front of your Community Redevelopment Authority on two times, the last about an hour ago, and they passed a motion recommending the implementation of the plan. So if this plan is approved, we would then go put in place a redevelopment contract and the issuance of a TIF bond. TIF bond scares city fathers, and it should, but you don't have any obligation to pay that back, nor do your citizens. It only comes from the increased taxes in the project. Mr. Resser and his company, by the way, put together the application at no charge for the city of Holdridge to get a portion of those housing funds. Was it $350? 320. So out of their good graces, they've already put that application in, and you were successful. I think you're the smallest town awarded those funds. The application's about that thick, by the way. So that's the good news. The bad news is this project has, for a whole series of reasons I won't go into, has taken some time. And one of the time elements that the Messner Development Company is up against is they can only build the big portion here if they spend 10% of the project prior to the 1st of June. That means they would have to invest and buy some lumber somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000. And if the council would approve this tonight, what happens then is they take the next step to, because of rising costs, because of floods and a whole bunch of other things, to make sure that the project can continue to go down the path. If you say no, or if you say, well, we want to think about it a while, what happens is that eats into their time, that short time frame. And it makes a project that has already been delayed that much more difficult to fund. And I'll let Mr. Messner address that frankly for you.
Yes, that's the big problem. We have two projects here, the tax credit project and the workforce housing project. And the two kind of go hand in hand because the workforce housing helps pay for, it helps create the tax increment that makes the project work with the TIP. Plus, that's a need that you desperately have in your community. You just need workforce housing here right now. And so we've got that project and the LIHTC project are together. The LIHTC project, unfortunately, has these other restrictions. And we've kind of tried to give the community time to sort out other problems, but we're just out of time. And whether those problems are resolved or not, we need to move forward because we have to buy the land and spend $500,000. That gets scary. Honestly, I think our budgets are blown on this thing at this point by virtue of the time and the delay and by virtue of what's happened with the flooding in the state. It just increases the cost for everything across the state. So we're probably going to have to go back and ask for some more credits, which all has to be done right away too before we spend the 10%. So we're just desperately short on time at this point. We've tried to adjust things as best we can. I want to thank both Mike and Olson for the work that they've done. Doug has put an awful lot of time in on this, sorting through things. We had a very good meeting with planning and zoning and made some changes as a result of it. We pulled 10th Street back and we took the money we saved on the street and the water and the sewer and used that to pave the entrance into 11th Street and pave that, so we had a paved entrance up there. I think that was something that some of you thought was important, was to get that done. So we've tried to be responsive to those things. And Doug's worked awfully hard at getting that done. We also had some issues about the size of the streets, whether they should be 36 or 31-foot streets, and maybe you should explain that.
Yeah, we started off with looking at this with 36-foot streets. That's for a residential area. And that's for a through driving through the subdivision. Our layout here is more in line with a marginal access. You know, on city code, our marginal access is 31 foot wide. So we redid our concrete numbers and looked at the difference between 36 and 31, which is quite a bit. It still didn't give us enough to pave all of 11th, you know, between Valley and East. So that's when we decided to cut back and move our phase one over, and basically, 10th is gonna get paved east to Valley, and then it's gonna go north on Valley. And with taking that and moving that up to 11th, we're able to pave 11th. So now we got 2 paved entrances in there as per some of the desires that we talked about. So we're able to accomplish that much. The bad side of that is 10th Avenue isn't gonna get much paving going west, or going east of Valley Street. But this is our best bang for our buck that we can come up with right now. So.
I think it's important for you to understand that's being funded out of the rural workforce housing funds, and the TIF money rolls back into that. We could argue on the one hand that PCDC put 250 in, if they get 250 back, then they got their money back. But the goal here is to get as much money back into that revolving fund as possible. Because if PCDC ends up with $1 million there, you now have $1 million to do the next project. So we want to maximize that increment in the way the tax dollars flow back to it, because it all comes back to you. Those tax dollars don't flow into Western Development Company's pocket. We get paid a fee for doing the tax credit work. If we can build a house at the right price and sell it, we might make a little money off the house, but so can anybody else in town. Those lots would be available to any builder that wanted to come in and have one and build it and sell it. The tax increment is really what drives this thing, and that money all rolls back into that fund and is available for a rolling fund in Holdridge to do the next deal.
Well, the area off of East Street that you're talking about, the 10 townhomes, are you building any of those?
Yes. We've promised to build 4 townhomes, 2 duplexes immediately. We're game to do more. If one of the things we have is we need to find a builder. If we can find a builder, if you got a local builder that we'll build 4. We get 2 of them sold. We'd like to just keep rolling, because that's what makes it work, is if you can just keep doing that. You know, ideally, you'd love to get those built out right away and then just do phase 2 and build out 10th Street and just go right on down the street. That would be the goal. We've committed to start. We've promised that we're gonna do 4. If it works, we'll keep going. But I also think that needs to be made available to anybody else in town that wants to do it too.
What is the price of those lots then, if a contractor, anybody comes in, are they gonna be $0?
That's if we hit the numbers that Doug is telling us on our infrastructure costs, yes. Otherwise, they're gonna be 10% of the override.
They'll still be way below market value.
Oh, yeah.
That was what I
I mean,
wanted.
the goal has been to get those down to 0 so that you've got local builders that can go in and make some sense out of it. I mean, if you're starting off trying to do workforce housing and you got a $40,000 lot, you just can't get there. So that's why the state has come out and put this program in place to buy stuff down so that we can hit a different number. Because you have a lot of people out at BD and Ullman that can't afford a $280,000 home, and they need a good place to start.
Well, even a $20,000 lot is a bargain today.
Yeah.
For anybody, even workforce housing. Another question, Doug, is where does 10th coming in now? Did you change that from jogging or?
Yeah, we had to move that north simply because if we jog south to line up with the existing 10th, we lose 2 lots. And already with way the footprints of the buildings and what I had to do to fit lots in here, I already lost like 4 lots before that. So our 10th Avenue right now comes in probably about 70 foot north of that intersection. So it's not gonna be a throughway, they're gonna have to make a jog again,
Okay.
to continue on west.
So that'll get paved in there then?
Well, we've got it
All the way
going
East
right to
Street?
the edge of where East Street would be paved.
Okay,
11th though, would go all the way to the existing concrete. So that'll be all concrete. And that's, I think we had talked about that earlier, that's probably gonna become the main entrance into the addition, is off 11th.
well, I would think it would be. Are you okay with East Street not being paved?
You know, the problem with East Street is the stuff across the way. I think, that it doesn't matter to us whether or not it gets paved. If it gets paved and you get rid of the stuff to the west, you've got 3 good lots there and we just build something on them. But our model is to build and sell the townhomes. And we can't build and sell there with what's to the west. You might find, it'd be a great project for a rental property. You could build 6 townhomes and rental townhomes in there, but it's not something at our age that we're interested in putting that capital in Holdridge, so.
I guess I'm just saying there's no guarantee that East Street's going to get paved. I
Yeah.
mean, I think we all know that. I mean, I don't know where we're gonna head with that, but.
When we were talking the other day, it finally struck me, we've been talking about 2 entrances. And you finally pointed out, you finally struck me, you were saying, this isn't the second entrance, 11th Street's the first entrance.
Mhm.
That's the one everybody's gonna come into. That's why we decided, well, we gotta get that one paved. That's what makes the sense. If they're not gonna come in on 10th, then we need to get that one paved. So that's why we made that adjustment.
I think this works really well for this project. It needed to be there.
Did you get the covenants that I sent? Did you
Yes.
already get those?
I'm sorry, I haven't emailed you back yet, but I did get that.
Okay. Did those look logical?
Some of it is.
Some of it is, okay.
I mean, they're hard to implement, I realize that, but I really think you need some type of covenants in that property,
Yeah, I think so too.
just to protect the homeowners. It's gonna be a tough sale anyway, and we don't want it junked up when we get done.
Right.
No, I looked at them, it's very thorough, more thorough than most places.
You have any other questions, process, or anything else? We'd be glad to answer whatever questions you have.
You mentioned those 3 lots on East Street are not really beneficial to you right now. But wouldn't they be beneficial if that was paved?
No, and here's the reason why. You're gonna have $40,000 worth of assessments against those lots, and you're gonna raise the price of your project. Nobody's gonna buy them because they don't wanna look out the front window. To be real blunt.
Yeah, what needs to happen there is you need to get a hold of both sides of that street, and then they become valuable lots. And we were talking to Ron about that earlier, trying to figure out a way to, I mean, it would make a great street for some rental properties, if you could get a hold of both sides and pave it. The problem is, if you pave it and you're paying interest on $40,000 for 10 years and you don't get the other side, it's a problem, but gap paving it may allow you to get the other side, so that's
That
really.
paving would probably allow us to get that other side. That would be a big incentive.
That's really the city's call. We'll live with whatever you wanna do with that. I mean, it's, you've got the right to go in there and gap pave it, and whatever the city decides to do, we'll live with it.
Cliff, if we did gap pave that, are you okay with being assessed?
Yeah, and there's no other way around it.
Because it might help, might make.
That would help clean up the west side.
I'd like to find somebody that wants to go in and own 6 rentals in Holdridge, because it would make a good property for that.
The problem that you have to understand is the man is already gonna be short $35,000 because he has to pay more for the dirt that he's gonna get back from TIP. You're asking him to pay $120,000 worth of assessments. So he's down now $150,000 invested in your community, and there's no way to get the money back. So, if I can get one of you to invest that much money in my community with no prospects of getting it back, I know where I can spend it. So, I mean, you have to look at that realistically. Someone from outside of town is coming to theoretically invest $7 million worth of housing in your community that you badly need. So, if you haven't figured out I'm bad cop, he's good cop.
But the council all knows we need housing. Everybody's looking for workforce housing. Everybody's looking for workforce employees. It's hard to find the employees. It's hard to get them transitioned into Holy. Everybody's looking for help. Their help is looking for homes. We're not going to get them all, but this is a part of an answer, and we appreciate that.
Did Rod want to add anything?
Rod?
The way this redevelopment plan is written, it appears that it can be interpreted that the city is required to do a TIF contract, which they haven't said yes or no on yet, because there's some issues out there. My suggestion when we hold this up is that we add a clause to paragraph 4 of that redevelopment plan that says, however, this resolution does not in any way obligate or require the city or the CRA to enter into a TIF contract with the redeveloper should it decide not to do so in its sole discretion. In other words, the city does not want to be obligated to give you a TIF contract unless we decide that's what they want to do.
Well, I appreciate you're trying to protect the city, but you have to understand we're under a time frame.
That's not our fault. We've had
No,
some
I didn't say it was. I'm just telling you where it is. If you wish to delay this project or make it conditional, they're not gonna go through and invest $100,000 to buy the dirt, another $500,000 to buy, to qualify for the tax credit project. Just, and nobody would do that, so. And we're not trying to be mean or pushy or arrogant about it, it's just, if you take that tact, there's no incentive for them to go meet any of those other requirements.
Well, I don't know how the city can agree to do a TIF contract if, I mean, we just got a brand new plan tonight. You've got changed the scope of the project. I mean, I don't know how the city can go ahead and approve a redevelopment plan that provides they have to do a TIF contract. I mean, I just don't know how you can.
It says, the plan says that the redevelopment contract will be negotiated
I
with
can't
the
read it.
redevelopment. Yeah, I'm sorry, I've got the same impediment that you do.
Yeah.
My apologies. It says it will be negotiated with the redevelopment authority, but if you, real frankly, if you're going to say maybe we will and maybe we won't, that's a long maybe. And my advice to my client is to take the ball and go home. There are other communities that he can spend his money in. And it's we're not drawing a mean line in the dirt. It's just, would you invest $500,000 maybe that you will get back if that was a position you're taking?
No, but it's you're talking 2-3 weeks to get this tucked away, and that ain't the city's fault that it's taken this long. So, I mean, all I'm saying is, my recommendation to this council is that if you're not going to agree to add that language, and you're gonna require that one be negotiated, I mean, everything, the council, it's up to the council whether they wanna give a TIF contract or not. My advice to this council is, I don't know how you can do that, but that's up to them.
We're out of time, and we can argue about whose fault that is or where that goes, but we're out of time. honest with you. We have in our office, there is my wife and I, there were two. And whenever there's a break tie, our project manager, Chris Larson, breaks the tie. We voted on this stuff 2 months ago, and I voted to kill the project because I thought it was too risky to move forward. My wife is, forgive me, she's a stubborn Swede, and she wasn't ready to give it up. And my secretary sided with her, and we've moved forward. But it gets really, really dangerous for us because we have a lot of money that has to go out, and if we're being asked to build a $3.5 million tax credit project, not knowing whether or not the pieces are gonna fall into place, I'm too old to recover that money. And if we don't get it built in time and you don't get the credits, it's just an absolute disaster. And the project just needs to move forward.
Doug Stevens is not here tonight. He's our liaison from our planning commission, but there was some concerns.
Simpson. I mean Doug Simpson.
Oh, Doug Simpson, excuse me. Too many Dougs. We gotta get rid of a couple of them. But they was concerned about maybe a easement on the east end so people, garbage trucks and that stuff can come around there. And they was concerned about utilities on phase 2. If that would be more beneficial to you at this time to go ahead and do the utilities anyway?
There isn't enough money, there isn't enough cash to do that. There's, the cash that Ron and company have put together is what has to be deployed to make the project go. That means buying the dirt, doing all that. So you run out of money. It's not that they couldn't do it or don't want to do it, it's just there isn't enough cash to do it. So that's how come phase 2 is blocked off at this point.
On our preliminary plat, we do have an alley, a 30-foot wide alley on the east side between Madison Avenue and 10th. That'll allow the trash trucks to come around once it's built out. You know, right now, they'd have to come on 10th, which would be a dirt road. But, so for now, they're gonna have to turn around and backtrack out of there. Bad deal that we just simply can't build at 10th. That's the kicker. Easement wise, I worked with Brian pretty extensively on so we could get our electrical in there, etc. And we come up with a plan that'll work. We've got boxes on the front between the sidewalk and the curb, and then they'll put their meter poles and everything, posts, not poles, on the back line because those are more unsightly. The transformers are low, they'll kind of disappear over time. People kind of forget about them. But the visible stuff will be on the back line, and we've got 5-foot easements on each side of the lot line, so the city can walk back there. We don't have to drive back there, but they can get back there and still get to their sockets, etc. So I think we've taken care of those. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kim or Brian, but I think we got most of our questions, our concerns answered as far as easements are concerned.
Doug's estimates on phase 2 or for the infrastructure are $320-some thousand. Ideally, it would all be built out now. I mean, that's what works the best if you just build it all out now. But somebody has to write a $320,000 check to make that happen. And unfortunately, having $320,000 out there doesn't mean that it'll get built out faster. You're still only going to get so many units bought and sold in a year. So that 320 just sits out there and earns interest and grows and becomes detrimental. It's one of the problems we face all across the state. I mean, we're working in 10 communities right now, and one of the problems that's out there is how do you hit economies of scale and still deal with the absorption rate? If you could build, if you could sell 20 homes this year, we'd build it out. But if you're only gonna sell 4 or 6, then it kills you. And I can point to lots of communities across the state that have gone out and overbuilt that subdivision, and it sits there and costs them money for years and years and years, and by the time they get it built out, it ends up being really, really expensive. So what we're trying to do is get some lots, buy the cost down, get some housing built, and roll on to the next project.
And I think you explained it's gonna be a rolling TIF. You'll start with the 4 townhouses now, year 2, it could be, so this could go on for some time.
Yeah, that's the idea. And the proposed redevelopment contract I've provided you isn't the one that I would do for my community if I represented my community. It's one that someone else represented a much larger community. I represented the developer, and I used their form. So you can, so it was as protective of that community as possible. So it is a pro-community redevelopment contract that we've used with some of the largest law firms in the state representing the city. The city ultimately, the city treasurer's responsibility is to pass on whatever tax comes in. And it's a contract that is with the redevelopment authority, and they don't have any ability to pledge anything to make the city do something. We do have an issue that if you want to especially assess the tax credit project, that would be inappropriate because that it has such a low revenue stream that if you put $40,000 assessment on the back end of those lots, it will result in the project failing. So you have to have protection so that the back end there on the north side, you don't come in and say we're going to pave, just arbitrarily pave that out to the cornfield and assess that project until it's off the tax credit piece of that. But other than that, these contracts are pretty standard. They can't impose any bad things on you other than you're not responsible for putting the paving in. You're not responsible for extending the utilities. There is a burden on your city treasurer and city clerk to have to make bond payments. But other than that, the city is not a party to the contract. The redevelopment authority is. So,
Cliff, who will be responsible for phase 2 when it's developed?
You know, that's a good question. We're trying to figure out what to do with that. If it's 4 years from now, I may not be here. Probably the logical thing for us to do is to get those lots back in the hands of PCDC. Hopefully Ron won't stab me in the back as I say that, because I haven't talked to him about it, but you want to get a local group that will make sure that that happens and gets on out it gets built out. And Messer Development may have a successor that's standing here saying we want to do that, but at some point in this process, I'd rather go someplace warm in the winter and sit on a beach or something. So I don't think it will be me. It may be a successor in our organization, but it won't be me.
Does phase 1 need to be completely built out before phase 2 would be?
No.
It could be done at any time?
It could be done at any time. If we thought we could build it out, if we thought we could build them out fast enough and we could get demand for the housing, I'd do it sooner rather than later. I'd do it just as soon as you think you can build it out and sell the houses. You just don't want to have a situation where you got 10 townhomes out there that aren't sold.
I know. So those lots will be higher priced then when that phase 2 gets built out, won't it?
Actually, when I run through the numbers, if you go in and use tax increment financing there, they come out really well. You might get those driven all the way to 0 too. we've done a lot of our calculations based on building the townhomes.
Yeah.
Because I think that fills a market that you don't have right now. You get a little more value per lot that way than you would with a small single-family home. And that helps you out on the TIF side. I think it helps you out on the cost, and I think it fits a market that I think would be attractive to employees of a couple of your larger employers. If I'm wrong about that and we go to houses, then
This our final draft, latest and final. We've had so many changes here.
It should be. That's the best I can, I don't know how else we can change it right now with what we've got. Lot layout, easement layout, yeah, that's done. We have no more room to change, so, it should be.
When did you come up with this? When was this one done, finalized?
This morning.
that reflects what was done with the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Right.
Doug and Kim had been working on one. We took the original one out because the original one that we did was making 11th Street dip down. And the response we heard was that they wanted 11th to be a straight through thoroughfare at some point. So we went down and redid the thing coming through 10th. And then this really was the changes after we met with Planning and Zoning. And that's kind of their job, that's what they do for the city, and they made recommendations, and we took them to heart and tried to put them in as best we could. The rest of the stuff has been done between Doug and Kim.
The lot layout, really, we probably had that finalized here about a week and a half ago, easements, et cetera. The paving is what I was talking about, as far as, that's been a moving target. Cliff and I have had many long discussions on the phone trying to figure out how we can get this accomplished. And literally, it was about 4 o'clock last night, we come up with an idea that you have in front of you, and we decided to run with it this morning pretty much.
One thing I'd like you to know is that there's a cost to this. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the prior layout, we were trying to get your $800 and some thousand back to you through TIF. You're not gonna get that back with this project. You're gonna use some of the funds that Ron and company have put together and turn it into paving and sewer and water, so it's a buy down. Is that justifiable? In almost every community I go into, if you can't subsidize somehow projects like this, they're gonna fail, so when those houses come on and those people are spending their dollars in their community, that's a pretty good result. However, it's gonna take some resources available to continue to go forward. So there is a cost to doing it this way. But it seems to be what making people happier, so.
Mary, you have a question?
Thank you for recognizing me. I appreciate that. Cliff wants to take his ball and go home. We've heard that multiple times, but that doesn't really move me. Here's what moves me is perfect is not coming. And this is about priorities. You're never gonna get to perfect. If you wait for perfect, we're gonna continue to have worse and worse housing shortages. So you just have to ask yourself, what is the priority here? And with that in mind, you can let me know when you're ready to entertain a motion.
I just want to comment, the changes Doug made, everybody's been talking about getting 11th straightened out and having that be an access point. I want to thank you for getting that done. That was talked at the Planning Commission, and that needed to be done. I can't really see what more you can do. I mean, you've totally flip-flopped this thing around, I don't know how many times. From what, I saw it when you started.
Yep.
And I think this is all we can ask for, and I agree with Mary, it's not perfect, it's a long ways from perfect.
Well, it looks better than it was.
Yes, and I'm ready to move forward with this tonight.
Mary? Motion?
No, we gotta close the public hearing.
Oh, close the public hearing. Now, Consider resolution 2019-05 approving the redevelopment plan for the workforce highway, March 2019.
I move that we adopt resolution 2019-05.
I'll second that.
Gibbon,
Yes.
Earlbom,
No.
Johnson,
No.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Motion carried. Item 9, award bid for a new police vehicle.
Thank you, City Council. Appreciate you taking care of business.
Thanks, Roger.
Good evening. As you can see, Dane was here when the bids were open for the new 2002 Police Explorer. Jansen's had a bid of $32,755. With 3 bid exceptions, and Anderson Auto Group, which has the state bid, that was 30.
Excuse me, Chief.
I'm sorry, I think we have.
Do we have bids on that?
They have it with
We have Augustus
Oh.
Street twice.
It's in that pack of papers for the last year. He came in,
Oh,
it's paper clipped with.
Oh, did we?
You have that one, I guess, too.
there. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, carry on.
Fine, yeah. Anderson's Auto Group, which has a state bid, their bid was $34,198. So therefore Jansen's was $1,443 under the state bid. However, there were 3 bid exceptions, one to the power port, one no underhood light. And personally, the power port is no big thing. The underhood light, according to the state bid, it is required, but can be put on by the dealer. So it may not even come from the factory with that underhood light, but they are required to put it on. And then they also had no auxiliary battery. If you recall, that was one of the main things, that's the only thing that I added on, was an auxiliary battery, because with computers, in-car cameras, rechargeable flashlights, and other things that are hooked up, we've been having problems with our batteries getting run down and having to jump cars. They put in their bid that the auxiliary battery is not available from Ford, therefore not included in the bid. I don't know if I completely understand. I don't know if Anderson puts those in themselves or not. It is included in the state's bid. It does say they have an auxiliary battery, dual-purpose AGM battery with dual battery separator for accessory equipment installation, also to include battery tray bracket, heavy-duty fuse, and 1 gauge or larger cables for this auxiliary battery. So it's kind of it's not exactly the same bid. We discussed it as a group, as Public Safety Committee, obviously, I would like to save $1,400 on a new vehicle. Whether it or not it meets meets the specs, I don't know if it meets the specs. So I don't know, that might be, if you have questions, or even with Mr. Jensen here, I don't know.
Mary?
How much would it cost to add the auxiliary battery if we got it from Jansen's?
That I
Anybody want to take a stab at that?
We weren't able to check that out yet. If this could be tabled to the next meeting, we could get you that information, but we were not able to get that to you before the bids were due.
I guess I,
The thing is that those options that we excluded, they weren't available to us from Ford Motor Company. I don't know if Anderson's
they must be
is
putting them
installing it, or sometimes when they're ordering so many for the state, they, like a special color, you can get a special color that's not available to any other dealer, but because you have one group entity that's buying multiple colored vehicles, you can get a special paint color. So I'm assuming it's either they're installing it, or they got an exception because the state requested and they were able to buy in such volume, they really afford to make an exception. Anything can be done, I just can't tell you right now what's gonna cost to install it ourselves.
I wouldn't be opposed to tabling it, but we can't let Mr. Jansen change his bid.
What's that?
I said I wouldn't be opposed to tabling it, but we can't let Mr. Jansen change his bid as presented. He would just have to come back and tell us how much he would charge.
Once you bid something, you're stuck with your bids unless you reject them all and start over.
So without resubmitting, so without doing that,
Well, I
could he
mean,
come back next meeting and say, I looked into it and it's gonna cost you this much to have my dealership add that auxiliary battery, or is that a no-go?
well, I haven't seen any of the documents, so I don't know where we're at, but, you know, normally when you bid something, you take the low bid unless it doesn't meet your specifications. If it doesn't meet your specs, you need to reject that bid. Or you can reject all the bids.
What committee say?
Well, if you guys wanna add what we've talked about.
With the way Jansen's is right now, it looks like it's not meeting our requirements. So, I mean, I would like to know what that cost would be. I guess my recommendation would be to table it right now, so Chief could do a little bit of research about the mounting itself anyways, and,
Saying reject the bid?
Reject the bid.
Reject them all.
yeah. That's where I'm at on it.
And have redo it for another 30 days?
I agree with him.
So we would have to do the specs again.
Correct.
You already have the specs.
Can you just reuse the same stuff that you already turned in the first time?
Well, yeah, what I would probably do is I would take off the second power port, because I did check the states and theirs says just a power port. That is not a big thing, that's.
That can always be an accessory.
Yeah. We do want the underhood light, and it does specify in the state bids, underhood light, activation of the light switch when the hood is raised is a requirement. Dealer installation is acceptable if not available from the factory. So whether or not Anderson's gets it from the factory, or whether when it comes in, they just put it in there, I have no idea. But when you go pick it up, obviously it's there. I have no idea if it's factory install or not. But the auxiliary battery is what's, to me, most important with more and more equipment that we're getting put on. You know, whether Tiny can, we can get the equipment and buy it for this price and then have Tiny see about installing it or whatever.
We're looking at 120 days delivery.
Right, so if we wait, we're looking at the end of September. If it takes 120 days, because we'll have to put the specs out again and then And then, of course, the bids would be the next second council meeting in May, so that's when it would, but,
Could we do the bids May 7th, the first meeting in May? It'd be 3 weeks. Is that enough time?
well,
Put me in the spot.
if I say the specs are the same without, just strike the second PowerPoint, but we still need the underhood light, no auxiliary and we still need an auxiliary battery, can you approve those specs tonight? I don't know, is it something you need to have in hand, is that something, we probably can't do that because it's not on the agenda.
If we have to prove it tonight, I'd say we have, the Jansen's does not meet the specs because it doesn't have the second battery.
Well, with the committee, probably most of you know I'm cheap, frugal. I guess if we can save $1,400, I'm certainly willing to do that and then also spend local. I mean, that's, when you save that amount of money, that can buy a light bar, that can buy a cage, that can buy a lot of stuff to go into the unit.
But can it buy an auxiliary battery installed?
Oh, yeah, I know what the state bid is on that, which is included in their price, but I know what the cost is for that, and that would, oh yeah, definitely cover that. And
So
then,
the $1,400 difference would cover putting in your auxiliary battery
well, that would be way more than cover it.
and an underhood light, or you go buy a trumpeter light, I
Underhood
guess, like
light
the rest
would
of
be,
us.
underhood light
You can live with,
is very cheap.
Under $100 installed easy. My only concern is one doesn't meet the state bid and the other does.
So if you reject them both, and you come back, if I change the bid and get rid of the second power port, then we are changing something.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So then then I would think you could go back and do it again, could you not?
I hate to delay it, but I think that would be the legal way, right way.
What are you proposing now?
Reject these bids
I understand that.
Rebid it.
and rebid it without that.
We have to reject them both first.
Correct.
I don't know how you reject a state bid, but I guess you can.
We can do it, bud.
All right.
Well, if we reject Jansen's, that leaves us one choice, and if we're not okay with spending that dollar amount on that vehicle, then that's how we justify rejecting it.
The one from state bid, $34,198, that's too high price. We're gonna rebid them.
Are we gonna be in trouble with somebody else when you reject their bid and they were low bid?
I don't know if it would be or not.
That meant the specs.
Motion from the committee? Reject bids and rebid it?
I make a motion
To reject both bids?
to reject it.
I'll second that.
One didn't meet the specs, the other's too high price. And we'll rebid it?
Aldridge,
No.
Sisson,
Yes.
Dermott,
yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Urbon,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Oh, you already said no.
5-1, motion carried.
Is it okay for me to comment on the specification? Obviously, we do hundreds of bids every year. Aldridge is the only community that accepts accepts a bid that's not FOB Holdridge. It's the only one. If you, in McCook, Holdridge, McCook, North Platte, York, all those other communities, when you get the bid specification, it's FOB community where it's supposed to be, where they're gonna take delivery. Because the city incurs costs when they send their employees after a vehicle in Lincoln. I think the last bid that you guys accepted was from a Lincoln dealer. And I think it was $240 difference between the local bid that would have been shipped right here to a Lincoln bid that would have had been shipped, that you had to send 2 employees, pay them, pay the fuel, they stop for a meal, I'm sure they're reimbursed for that as well. Over $240 difference. Most of the communities recognize that, so they make sure that the vehicle that when they award that bid, that it has to be shipped to the community where it's going to be used. Just a suggestion on your bid specification.
Comment, that should be figured in.
I have a question, my memory fails me. We ordered a Charger from the Dodge dealership here in town a couple of years ago, is that right?
Yeah.
What did we have to have done to that Charger after we got it? We had meetings and meetings on this.
Well, it came with a, if I recall, it came with a console. And it's not supposed to have a console. It's supposed to have a metal plate under there with wiring for everything to sit on, and it didn't. So the console had to be removed and the plate had to be ordered. I think the inside lights, there were no inside lights on it. There was something else, I can't recall what it was.
We had that, did we have those modifications done at Platte Valley? Is that right, or did we end up?
No, they did, Dodge dealer did some of them.
Okay.
They might have done all of them, I can't recall.
And then we had some further issues after that, after the modifications. Do you remember that? I was trying to make sure I got it straight in my head.
That the one has a different colored number.
No,
the
that
same
would
one.
be
No, that was something else.
That really had to be from the factory, not really.
Yeah, that was a different one.
I can't tell you, Mary, I'm getting old and my mind.
I know, I would have to go back and, I know I took lots of notes at the time, but I have to go back and dig through my packets. Well, anyways, these are boards and we went around the table, so I was just trying to remember that.
Thank you. So we've rejected both bids, and we'll have another one very soon. Item 10, award engineering proposal for the Guston Street Paving Improvement District.
After the council approved with the go-ahead paving the Guston Street, we sent out requests for proposals for the design and engineering of Guston Street. We had 3 people submit proposals. The first, Olson's come in at $58,000. Oak Creek Engineering come in at $38,750. And Miller & Associates come in at $18,900. All these costs are only for design of the project. It does not include the construction observation of the project or the geotechnical part of it. Possibility, this is just a very rough guesstimate, the construction observation, geotechnical, if geotechnical is required, additional $10,000 to $15,000 probably with it. But until they get into it and they know what we need to do with the street or whatnot, we don't know that to do it. But had extensive conversations, and I think Miller & Associates will do a good job for us. I believe their main guy is Luke Dutcher. He's been with them for about 12 years, from my understanding. And if the council so approves this evening to go with Miller & Associates, I'll be in contact with them tomorrow and get the ball rolling on this. And we're looking at a design of this summer and fall with the construction of next spring. I believe I talked with Ron Tillery, and the money can be waited till next year to be spent on with the grant money, so we're in a timeline.
Any questions from council?
It's quite a difference in prices.
This is right, a lot of difference in prices.
Well, we've had Miller and Associates do work for us before, and we're just guessing that they probably wanna get their feet back in the door. I mean, they do have a local office, so.
20 to 40,000. Quite a difference.
It's about time we got a break.
Yeah.
Wow. Sounds good.
Well, since Doug's not here, I guess I'll speak for the committee, and we would say go with Miller on this.
I have to say you're
I don't know.
Committee recommendation? Motion to approve?
I move that we approve Miller and Associates for the engineering proposal.
Second?
I'll second.
Troy Irvine?
Gibbons,
right. Yes.
Irvine,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott.
Yes.
See, thank you.
Motion carried. And did, Clerk Ferguson say that there was no special meeting on the 24th? She said that. I don't think she mentioned it, did she?
I don't think so.
Oh, that was in her email, I think.
She said there was a reason she came. Dave told her to come.
Okay. Open discussion.
No.
Bob? Dane?
No, thank you.
Chief?
I just want you to be aware, this morning we had a mock accident sponsored by the Phelps County Safety Coalition, which we do this approximately every 4 years. It involved the Oldham Fire Department and the rescue unit, as well as the Loomis Bertrand and Phelps Memorial's rescue units, the hospital, schools, state patrol, sheriff's office, and us. Mock accident, they had a safety coalition had a speaker come and speak to a number of students from Holdridge, Loomis, Bertrand, maybe even a few other schools, and then a mock accident was set up. And they get to see students who are in a mock accident, also a fatality, and we try to make it as realistic as possible. In fact, even having the county attorney come as the coroner, and even having Nelson Bauer Funeral Home come up and even put them on the cart and in a body bag and take them away, and then we go in and we answer any questions the kids may have. It's always been met with a positive review, so I just want you to be aware of that. I didn't want to let anybody know prior to, because it was supposed to be top secret, and I didn't want to take them out of the bag, so. That and Officer Stewart is in my council notes, is graduating tomorrow from the training center. So myself and the mayor will be going down to attend his graduation. And he'll be back and starting next week. And hopefully everything will go okay.
Those mock accidents are very realistic. I saw the one 4 years ago, said, I'm not going through that again. You know the kids, and no, it catches their attention. So, thank you. Troy?
Nothing.
Ben?
Nothing.
Mr. Randy?
I wonder if we need to look at starting the meetings earlier.
5, 4?
We'll go back 5:30.
That we'll be looking at next month, or 3 months is coming up.
The second meeting in May is when we'll address that.
That's all I have, Mayor.
You're okay with the earlier meetings in 7?
I can't do that.
Good.
Calculating.
Mike?
No, sir.
Low season's coming up. Mary?
I remember the other thing about the police car, when we ordered from, it was Jansen's Dodge at the time. After we had to have all that stuff fixed, that car was out of commission for more than a month. It was off the street, so it was supposed to be part of our fleet. So that's all.
Can't top that one.
Right. Ken,
Nothing, sir.
Banner Boy.
We'll see how they go. We've been talking to them, bad deal. I don't know. A lot
That's
of
a
money
bad
spent, and I don't know what they're gonna come up with.
They sure tore her.
They did. We put 5 up and 4 were ruined in 10 days.
They look nice, but they catch so much wind.
Yeah. So we'll see what they come up with.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
Mary?
Well, I sunk again.
This meeting is adjourned.
Wow.
Randy, if you push it back to 5:30,